So you want the little.
Yeah, that was it. Good morning, dear Dhamma friends. Ananaya, Diane, Flo, Gabriella, Nathan, Paula, Sheila, and here in the room, Ajita is coming, and Samanari Satima is here with me. Just up to a few moments ago, we have a bhikkhu who has visited us for the purpose of doing an interview based on his PhD dissertation on how meditation is taught in the West. I have to say, I don't know if I'm proud or not proud. It seems like the answers that I give, he doesn't like take notes on my answers, and then the other people who give answers, he takes notes. And I think it's because I have matured in the Dhamma sufficiently so that when asked a question about the Dhamma, I just give the answer, the Buddha's answer, what's found in the suttas. and so we all know that, so he doesn't need to take notes. He just reflects those she's answering according to the suttas. Today's program is a bit special because in a little while we're going to be offering the 5 precepts. I think this was advertised, and I'm not sure how many of you have the wish to renew your commitment to the 5 precepts and to receive a certificate of your 5 precept commitment, which you may post on the wall somewhere, perhaps on the door when you leave your room each morning. You could look at the 5 precepts and remember what your intention is for that day. As a preparation for this 5 precepts, I think we better practice metta meditation, right? Because where does morality come from except from the thought of kindness, the thought of not harming, the wish to become, as nearly as we can, completely harmless, to have that tender consideration for all creatures, whether they be frail or strong, close or far. So we can start in with doing this meditation. Coming to an upright and balanced posture, arranging the body so that it's not slouched or slumped over, in a posture that we were able to hold on to for 30, 40 minutes without having to be too uncomfortable. So making it as comfortable as possible to be letting the body remain still. And then with the stillness of the body, the mind can gradually quiet down and become still. Taking a few minutes of awareness of the body, awareness of the body-mind together. What kind of state am I in? Feeling the weight of the body pressing on the chair or the cushion. Aware of the posture and that balance. Aware of the body situated in the room or the place where we're sitting. Aware of the sensations in the body, whether they are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Just taking a minute, look at the body. What can we notice? What's going on with our physical living body? And aware of the state of mind. Is the mind drowsy or dull, bright and clear? Is the mind connected with the present moment and meditation, or distracted? Is the mind calm and quiet, able to just watch? Or is the mind boiling with thoughts? Just acknowledging what it's like right now. And bringing awareness internally what it's like to be you right now. And then bringing the thought of loving kindness or loving friendliness, using your own simple phrase of kindness. May I be well, may I be happy, may I be free. Choosing a short verbal phrase of kindness and pronouncing that phrase for yourself very clearly. Knowing the real meaning, the significance, the intention, what we want or what we wish for, what we intend when we give our own self the thought of kindness. Aware of the feeling of kindness. If there's some shift in what it's like when the thought of kindness is present. Locating the feeling of kindness somewhere in the body. It may be a strong feeling or a subtle feeling, a pleasant feeling or a neutral feeling. Aware of the feeling of kindness. And imagine spreading the feeling of kindness through the body, where that feeling is most clear, like a fountain or a spring, gently flowing with water, and the water gradually flows out and fills up more of the body with that feeling of kindness. Repeating the phrase of kindness. Letting the feeling of kindness fill up the whole body, saturating every part of the body, down to the tip of the fingers, down to the toe, to the top of the head, the whole body saturated with kindness. And then calling to mind the sentient beings outside, the ones around you, or the ones who come to mind, lovable or not, already happy, or needing some happiness and kindness. Or could be any particular individual that comes into mind. Silently speaking to that person, or to those persons or beings, with that phrase of kindness. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free. Continuing the phrase of kindness for another, or for all the others. Aware of what happens to the feeling in the body when the thought of kindness goes out. Letting the thought of kindness for another, the feeling of kindness, saturate the entire body, saturate the mind and heart, so there's nothing but kindness for another. Letting the thought of kindness go everywhere, inside and outside, in all directions, without any limits. May all be happy. May all be well. May all be safe. May all be peaceful. May all be free. Using the phrase of kindness for all. if the feeling connected with kindness gets weak or disappears, it means you're losing the meditation. You can revive the meditation by being aware of how it is right now, what it's like in the mind and body, and start the beginning, bringing the phrase of kindness and noticing if there's a shift in the feeling when the mind turns towards kindness, trying to keep that feeling connected with kindness clear. That's like the nimitta of the meditation, being strong. So, based on kindness, we come to the beautiful observance of right speech, and right actions. I wanted to take a few minutes to invite your question or comment about each one of the 5 basic precepts that are offered for every Buddhist. There is, for any precept, an area that requires good discernment on your part to understand how to actualize this and make it real, how to challenge yourself to become even more conscientious in observing and protecting the particular precept. The first precept is not to take the life of a living creature. In the training that the monastics have, it's a very strong and important precept for us to observe. But there are boundaries where all the factors have to be satisfied to have the full consequence of that precept. So there has to be a creature, a living creature, not just one that's already dead or something like that, or that's not really a living creature. There has to be an intention. There has to be an action. There has to be a result. So if a person has no intention and they accidentally kill a creature, then they don't suffer the full repercussion of that event, even though that creature was alive and then they're killed. But there's some repercussion, but not the full amount. And the same way, if you intend or think about killing, but you don't go through with it, there's not the full repercussion, but there is a strong repercussion on the mind, isn't there? There are 2 specific cases that show some of the subtlety of this precept. One is about, this is very often questioned, one is about abortion. In the ancient text, those who are ordained have a very specific injunction that we cannot tell another person that it's a good idea to have an abortion. To do that would be a very big fault for us that would have a lot of repercussions. And yet we know that it's something that happens. And then if people are facing that decision, or if they have made an abortion, they have to find the ways to overcome, to do the aditana, to try to heal and recover from the repercussions of that. Sometimes they advise even undertaking some special activities designed to protect life or to save the life of beings in order to create like some opposite energy. That's one area. And then another area that I think is sort of like a stand-in, sometimes people will challenge monastics in the Theravada tradition. If somebody gives cooked meat or cooked fish or cooked eggs, then we're not required to accept it, but we can accept it, and we don't have the fault of whatever the person was that killed that animal or stole the egg from the chicken. But nevertheless, we know that in our capitalist system, if you are choosing to go to the store and to buy some meat or some fish, you're kind of like sending a message to the butcher or to the fish factory, or saying, please catch some more food, please kill some more food so I can have some more of it tomorrow. And so this is a question. It's for discernment. To what extent, if I say, well, I'm not intending for that being to be killed, is that really true? Or is it like that I was being negligent and just like not thinking about it, or just kind of going la 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 to pretend that I'm not aware of what's going on? So that's an example. I don't want to go on. You could spend a whole month just reflecting on that one question. But I wonder if anybody would be willing to offer what they know and experience, or what questions they have about their own moral discernment about not killing and protecting life. Put your hand up if you have a question or a comment to share. Okay, Flo.
Yeah, I just had a question mostly about the first precept in relation to self-defense. I feel like I've had a lot of internal conflict, having like been assaulted in my life, but also feeling like I don't want to kill people, but I also don't want to get killed. And I feel like I don't have like a strong internal resolution about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a beautiful question. And you're going to have to develop this for yourself. Certainly, it's fantastic if one can become so skillful that they're able to turn aside anger and have those beings who are intent on doing harm, intent on killing, and to, by one's own peacefulness, to be able to cause them to stop and turn aside from killing. It might happen that way, and it might not. If a person loses their life, well, you're going to lose your life. You know that eventually you will lose your life. And it could be in a way that's being subjected to violence and hatred. So at that time, whatever you decide or whatever you choose, can you keep the violence and hatred out of your own mind and out of your own heart? Can you protect the purity of your own thought, so that if you believe in rebirth, you wouldn't be reborn in a hell realm or in a bad destination, because your last living thought was hatred. So they say that like the karma that you make, is like more important than a person's physical life. Even we've known, we hear about heroes who voluntarily give up their own life in the process of trying to save and protect the lives of others. And if somebody does that they're so generous, they sacrifice their own life to protect somebody else, then we think we really admire them. Of course, now at that point, they had the agency, they had the individual choice to do that and to make that sacrifice. But when somebody is in this hate-filled world and we see that evil person filled with evil thoughts coming at me, then if I can stop them from doing their own evil karma, actually that's helping them, isn't it? It's protecting them from committing murder. So it's hard finding the skillful way to prevent another or to turn them aside from committing murder. Is fantastic if we can find out how. So those actions or that lifestyle which is devoted to peace, I think is really important in facing the question that you're speaking of right now. And it's a really good question, and it's a hard question. Is that enough for now? See, I throw the problem back to you.
I feel like I can definitely take away the I definitely feel like, at least over the last 2 years, I've had a lot more aggressive thoughts, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
And I feel like thinking about it in terms of that, when another person is seeking to like inflict hate or violence on me, they're like at the same time also hurting themselves.
Yeah.
And trying to have compassion for that, and like approaching things of like, how can I de-escalate, and like almost like, I feel like in the past when I've like felt like practiced nonviolence very strongly, I've like felt harmless, and I feel like people in my life have perceived that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. Very good. Maybe with your powerful question, that's giving a clue about the scope of how significant and important it is to really explore this first precept. The second precept is about not taking what's not given, not stealing. And here again, there are subtleties. There's like checkbook stealing, like if you go into the store and steal something. And then there is the theft of capitalism, where basically beings are coerced by economic necessity into giving what they're not actually willing to give, but it's like a kind of a force that's imposed on people. Before I was a Buddhist for a while, I used to sit with Quakers, and they have an idea of part of their ethic is this ethic of fair dealing, that in practicing as a capitalist, it should always be a fair trade, and that if it's not fair value on both sides, then it's like ethically wrong, and that's sort of part of not stealing. The whole culture of generosity, what the monastics live, is based on depending on generosity, so the people freely, voluntarily give. And we need to be so cautious and careful. Sometimes people get enthusiastic and they try to volunteer, and they say, "Oh, I'll do anything for you." And then to be so like sensitive and not push it too far, and not to ask them to do something that they're not comfortable with, or that they're not really freely giving, but then they feel sort of stuck that they have to. But instead to let people give what's in their heart. And that's sort of going to the boundaries of this rule about not stealing. And now, again, I'm going to pause for a second and see whether somebody would give one question or comment about how not stealing is developed in your own life and your own practice. I'm going to go on because the time is going by. Not killing, not stealing, not harming people with our sexuality, and not committing what they call sensual behavior, which is like gluttony, greed, addiction to excitement, all that kind of sensual pleasures, not letting our sensual pleasures give harm to ourselves or to others. Not doing false speech, which includes speech that is divisive and hurtful, that causes hatred between people. Not doing speech that's rough and violent. Not doing speech that's foolish and useless. Musawada. And then last of all, refraining from the use of intoxicants that cause heedlessness, which for many people is a kind of a gateway to doing all the other faults. So a person who is a habitual drinker or habitual drug user can get a little bit high. They don't even have to be, blotto. They can be just a little bit in that happy mood from getting a little bit intoxicated, and then they can, start to gossip, and then they can, and then one thing leads to another, and they can come into all kind of different faults because of not having that clarity. So having the opposite of that lifestyle is, in Buddhism, it's called appamada, which means heedfulness. It means you're basically like sober. You're clear. You're awake. So those are the 5 precepts. And because I see how time has passed me by, I'm going to go ahead and share on the screen the 5 precepts and invite everybody who's willing to do so to put your hands in Anjali and bow 3 times to the Buddha image that you have in your house, or the Buddha image that you can see on the screen. So reading along with me, Mayang aye tisaranena saha pancha silani yachama dutiyampi mayang aye tisaranena saha pancha silani yachama. Tatiyampi mayang aye tisaranena saha pancha silani yachama. And the meaning is, we, Venerable, request the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. Okay. Let's just recite all together. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Again, reciting this together, reading from the screen and reciting together. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. To the Buddha I go for refuge. To the Dhamma I go for refuge. To the Sangha I go for refuge. Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. For the second time to the Buddha I go for refuge. For the second time to the Dhamma I go for refuge. For the second time to the Sangha I go for refuge. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. For the third time to the Buddha I go for refuge. For the third time to the Dhamma I go for refuge. For the third time to the Sangha I go for refuge. And my part is to Saranagamanam Nititam. This completes the going for the three refuges. Yes, Venerable, you say. Now, again, reading the precepts out together in Pali and English. Anatipata Veramani Sikka Padang Samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature. Adinadana Veramani Sikka Padang Samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given. Kame sumikchachara veramani sikka padang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct. Musavara veramani sikka padang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying or false speech. Sura meraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikka padang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness. Imani Panchasika Padani, this was your 5 precepts. Silena Sugatim Yanti, Silena Bhoga Sampada, Silena Nimbutim Yanti, Tasma Silang Visodhaye. These are the 5 precepts. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And now, welcome to bow 3 times to the Buddha in your room or to the Buddha on the screen. I welcome you to remember these 5 precepts. It's difficult enough even to remember these 5. And if you would reflect every day when you get up in the morning what you were intending for the day, and before sleeping at night, whether you were able to fully keep your own ethics or whether you slipped up and did something unskillful. If you do something unskillful, the Buddha says, you don't have to suffer forever. Just make the determination to give up the unskillful behavior and to undertake skillful behavior in the future. If you would like to have a certificate to remind yourself that you made that decision to keep these 5 precepts, you have to write us with your information, your name and email and your snail mail address, so that Venerable Seminary Tavira will make a beautiful certificate worthy of being framed and mail it to you, so that then you can post it up to help you remind yourself that you did make that decision and you are willing to try to observe these 5 precepts completely, and then to experience the happiness and the improvement of meditation, the improvement of wisdom that can follow on for somebody who's really making the effort to keep those precepts. Dear friends, this brings us to the end of our hour. I thank you for your patient listening and for your practice. We can now altogether end by giving our homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. The Lord, who attained perfect enlightenment, I bow to the Buddha. The blessed Dhamma teachings which he expounded so well, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Dhamma. Please enjoy your morning, and I will see you again, maybe either next Tuesday or next Sunday.
Are you not teaching this afternoon?
Oh, this afternoon, right? Sutta started this afternoon. It's a very exciting sutta. You know, it's been we had Vesak yesterday, so that's why my brain is so foggy about real things, but it's not foggy about the Dhamma.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.